Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I haven't done one of these in a while, which is a fallacy video, and today I just want to compare a real fallacy with something that is not a fallacy, but is rather a piece of inductive logic. So the fallacy is the appeal to nature. The inductive logic is the appeal to orthodoxy. And these can seem really similar until you look closely at them. So the appeal to nature is basically saying something is good because it's natural, something is okay because it's natural, or something is better because it's natural. You're saying that because it comes from nature, it is better than something which is synthetic or man-made. Now, the problem with this appeal should be obvious right away, which is that there's many things in nature which we don't like. Poison ivy is natural. Hemlock is natural. Lots of things that kill you are natural. Fire ants are natural, right? So just because something is natural does not mean it's good. And one of the funniest uses I saw of this was actually on Twitter, which was somebody promoting, I don't know, some discovery show about animals engaging in same-sex acts and saying, here's all these animals that do all this gay stuff, and there's only one bigoted species, meaning human beings. The problem is that if you're looking at male lions engaging in sex acts with each other as a justification for humans doing that, then that also opens the door for all the other things that lions do, which are natural. Right? Like eating babies, okay? There's lots of things that animals do naturally which we obviously think are unacceptable for people to do. Animals eating each other raw, animals engaging in all kinds of weird, perverse sex things. Just look at some kind of bonobo chimp documentary and you're going to see some really perverse things that are generally unacceptable in our civilized view of how humans ought to behave. Same thing with animals peeing on things, pooping places, right? We maintain our waste and we put it in special places because it's sanitary. We have lots of reasons for that. The other problem with the appeal to nature is that as human beings, there's this idea that what we're doing is not natural. We're alive, we're animals, so the behaviors that we do are natural and appropriate for human beings because we are natural ourselves. So it creates an artificial distinction between this nature that's out there and this artificial stuff that's in here. This house, this fake cave that we built, and it's like, well, lots of animals, birds build nests. Is that like a fake hole in the ground? No, it's a behavior that's appropriate for them and it's natural for them. Building shelters, humans build shelters all over the world. It's a natural thing, right? Just because the house is made by a person doesn't mean it's not natural. Okay, so creating that artificial distinction also is a fallacy in and of itself because we are animals and we do animal things, but we don't do the same things that other animals do because we have intellect. We can actually think about what we're doing and alter our behavior based on reason. Our reason is a natural part of our faculties. That's not a thing that should be discarded because other things in nature don't have that. So let's compare that to the appeal to orthodoxy, which can often be similar to the appeal to nature. So the appeal to orthodoxy is basically saying something that is very well established is going to be a preferable choice to something which is new. So the new thing is usually going to be artificial, right? And the old thing is going to be more natural. If we're thinking of seed oils like canola oil, which is actually, I think, rapeseed oil, but they don't like to call it that, so I think they changed it to canola oil. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Versus olive oil, right? So which one are you going to eat? Well, is the canola oil bad because it's made through some weird industrial process? Maybe it's off-putting. You can look up videos for how like corn oil and this kind of stuff is made, and it's quite gross to look at, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad because watching an animal be slaughtered can be pretty gross. And if you've never slaughtered an animal before, it can be messy and fairly gross. And the end result is protein which we eat and we enjoy the taste of and the texture of and the experience of. So, slaughter can be gross. So how a thing is made looking gross doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad either. But if we're looking at the appeal to orthodoxy, seed oils are new. Whereas olive oil is something that has been in the human diet, at least in the Mediterranean and in Europe, for thousands of years. So any deleterious health effects from olive oil are well known by now to the extent that they exist, whereas something which is new and industrial, we don't really know what it will do to the body. And as evidence starts to pile up that this is not necessarily as safe as olive oil, when you're just making a choice, which one is less likely to harm, then it's going to be the olive oil, right? So you make an appeal to the orthodox, to what is known versus what is unknown. And this is something that's different from an appeal to nature. Just because something is new and therefore artificial does not mean it's bad. But when you're comparing the unknown risk of that to something where you really are aware of any and all risks, or there's obviously very little risks and you know the effect of it, you can make an inductive choice. Which one is more likely to be safe? Which one is less likely? Which one is more likely to do more harm? That's an appeal to orthodoxy. And you can think about this with a lot of things, right? Like, do you want to try the new miracle diet drug? Or do you want to try the bodybuilding diet that people have been using for 80 years to get lean? Well, one of those has been tried and true, and you can see the results of it. It may not be easier, right? It might be easier to take the diet, the weight loss drug, but the diet part has been really well established, and you've seen lots of people have effects of it, and you know exactly how it's going to affect you because many people can testify to that, and you know that the health effects of that diet are going to be positive or whatever, right? So if you're choosing which one is less likely to cause you harm, well, the established diet and exercise routine is probably going to cause you less harm. But it does come with a cost of, it's more effort. You're going to be hungrier versus taking maybe taking like the injectable semaglutide or something like that in order to try to lose weight. So when you're making a choice like this, it's not that the semaglutide is bad because it's an artificial hormone, but when you're comparing it to something that's very well established and is fairly safe and you know the effects of it, it makes it easier when you're thinking of risk to choose the one that has the lower risk, which is going to be the more orthodox choice. So when you're looking at something that is orthodox, something that has been around for a long time, the orthodox means straight way, right? It's been passed down. Then you generally have a good idea of what the effects are going to be, whereas something that's new, you maybe don't. Doesn't mean that the new thing is bad or it's worse or nothing can ever be innovated. It's just a matter of calculating risk. It's an inductive thing. Which one's more likely to harm you? So in some cases, that can be a natural thing, right? Do you want this? Which one are you going to drink? Are you going to drink the lab-made soy milk, or are you going to drink the milk that comes from the cow that your ancestors were drinking in Holland or whatever 2,000 years ago? At least my ancestors were. So I'm going to choose the cow milk because I know what's in it, and maybe I need to consume less of it because it's high in calories. But maybe I don't know what this magical oat milk thing is supposed to be. Maybe it's bad. I don't know what it is. So I'm going to maybe choose the more known choice. Yeah, it's more natural. It's not better because it's natural. It's merely like it's less likely. I believe it's less likely to harm me because it's just more established. And that tends to be things that are more natural, whether it's like olive oil or milk or butter or something like that. We have a knowledge of its effect and how it's used, I guess via history and through long experimentation with many, many people. So anyway, that's my explanation on that. Leave me your thoughts down below on the appeal to nature and the appeal to orthodoxy. I see appeals to nature all the time. They are very effective, which is why people tend to make them. You can easily scare someone away from canola oil by showing them how canola oil is made and a submarine lubricant and it's rancid and things like that. You can easily get someone to say it's gross, whereas like the lard and the olive oil is natural, right? And that's true, but those things may have other consequences as well. It doesn't necessarily mean they're better, just because they're more natural. But it works a lot on a lot of other things as well. Here's a natural looking park versus here's the artificial skyscrapers and the artificial. We have an idea that nature is something good, and I think one of the reasons that we have that is that we live in an urban environment, most of us, and this goes like way back. This idea of nature being good. You can see it in the 19th century, stuff like Walden, where a person who can have modern comforts and the security of the urban environment can look out very nicely on nature. Like, isn't it beautiful and perfect and harmonious, and not have to worry about getting eaten by wolves or cutting their leg because it's a mess out there. You don't have clear-cut paths in the forest. Cut your leg and you get an infection in your leg and die from that, right? Those are real risks that happen. Or dying of malaria. Malaria is natural. Mosquitoes are natural. I will spray DEET on me to keep those mosquitoes off of me, okay? I don't care that mosquitoes are natural and that DEET is some artificial chemical. I hate mosquitoes, and mosquitoes could give me West Nile virus or Zika virus, right? It's a thing that exists in America. We don't have malaria back yet, but especially if you're like in Africa, it's like, no, I'm not spraying this artificial DEET on me. It's like, okay, you can get another natural thing called malaria from that. So think broadly about this kind of stuff. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's worse. People do this all the time with products. Here's these natural diapers, right? It's like, well, I mean, what's the point of the diaper, right? I know that super absorber seems like it's lab-made horrible chemical, but it's pretty effective at catching urine and things like that. So, which one is going to be more effective? Which one's going to be more likely to harm your baby or not? So, a lot of natural stuff. It's very, it's an effective way to get people to buy something. And I guess to compare it to like an appeal to orthodoxy. Why do I make my own bread? Well, it's because I know what's in the bread, right? The flour has a very limited number of ingredients, mostly wheat, right? Even if you get enriched flour, and you're choosing to put all the other ingredients in. It's like flour, butter, salt, yeast, right? You're able to know what's in it, where it's like, I don't know what all of these other things could be doing in this weird artificial factory bread. That's more like an appeal to orthodoxy versus my natural bread. It's made in a bread maker. It's not like it's spraying out of the ground as bread, okay? It just has fewer ingredients, and therefore that's a little bit more lindy, right, than factory-made bread. That's all. So leave me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great, great day.